Hello, and welcome back. Today, I guess I don't really know what this episode's going to look like at the start. I do know I want to build the moss farm, but I don't think that'll take up the entire episode. So, yeah. We may end up going into the nether and working on that wither skeleton farm that we kind of started prepping the fortress for. So, we'll see what happens there. I did, at the beginning of the episode, want to come over to our to-do list, and we can clean up the dripstone farm and the lava farm, because we did that last episode. So, I think the moss and bone meal farm is probably going to be the next farm we work on. So, yeah. I think I want to put it right here, actually. Right here. Well, this will be a great spot for it, right? We have so much room, and no, we are gonna put it here, but we're gonna kind of tunnel up and put it back there in the wall somewhere. So we're gonna have to dig out a huge area. So I think that means a time lapse pretty close to the start of the episode. So here we go. moss farm is done, which I guess really is more of a bone meal farm than a moss farm. But yeah, let's go take a look at it. So if we go up into here, these barrels here is going to be the output from a shulker loader that I have set up on the other side. So up here, this is where the actual moss gets created. So if we go under here, this is kind of where it all happens. So we fill up these composters with bone meal. The hoppers underneath will pull out the bone meal, and it'll go into this dropper here, which drops it up into a water stream, and that'll flow down the full length of the farm down there, kind of do a 180, and it'll come back down this path here. I can't really see it, show you too well, but it'll come back down this path. Oh, maybe that'll be a better angle. And then I have a shulker loader set up here. So it'll come into the hoppers and then into the shulker. And then the rest of the system here with the comparators, torches, and everything is just to figure out when we have a full shulker, and it'll pop the shulker off. There's hoppers underneath the comparators. So then the shulkers will go into the hoppers and go back out into the barrels on the other side of the wall. So yeah, this is a really cool system. This is an Il Mango design, and it's really good. It's really good. I may at some point, at some point I do want to have an actual moss farm and not a bone meal farm. So I don't know if I'll just pull some of the composters from here and just turn this into a partial moss farm and a partial bone meal farm, or if I'll just make maybe one section of this farm and turn it into an actual moss farm, and then I'll just have to pull the bone meal from here. So let me close the door. So yeah, that would be like just this one tiny section out to the first glass wall over there. I don't know. Something I have in mind. I haven't decided yet. And also, I might turn this into a bit of like a lush cave feeling area. But that's a lot of moss that I'll need and a lot of work that I'll have to go into it. So yeah, I might do that at some point, but I might want to wait until after I have an actual moss farm instead of just a bone meal farm. So yeah, and so I set up this little circular track here so that when the hoppers start filling up, the rest of the bone meal will be able to just keep getting circulated through here. And hopefully that'll mean that I won't actually lose any bone meal from them being despawned, and they'll just continue to fill up the hoppers. I did run this in a test world for quite a while to try to figure out how many shulker loaders I need, and 4 seemed to be the right number. The first 3 here will pretty much be running all the time, and the 4th one will be running most of the time. That'll essentially just be overflow pickup. So I could probably have gotten away with 3, but I felt like 4 was going to be a better route to go. So yeah, that is pretty much the farm. I'm going to go fill up our shulker loader with a bunch of empty shulkers. That way when I kick it off, we'll have a bunch of spare shulkers ready to go. And the main reason for that is because, well, between our tree farm, this tree farm, and our crimson stem farm, I think we're going to need something like 5, 6 shulkers full of bone meal each. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of bone meal. So yeah, I'm going to go make a whole bunch of shulkers and fill up the shulker loaders, and then start the farm running so that we can, get a backfill of a whole bunch of bone meal. And I think I did add a new sign here. I think I'm going to start making some micro bone meal farms, or maybe just micro farms is the actual term for it. I set aside some materials over here that are just some examples. Like we can bone meal all of like the regular crops. I think I will ignore all of the crops except for wheat though. We will set up farms, automatic farms for the 2 tall towers of flowers. I would like just a normal flower farm as well. Although the biome we're in, let's see here. We are currently in a taiga. Yeah, I think that'll only give us like the dandelions and the poppies, which we can already get the the dye colors from sunflowers and rose bushes, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be nice to have the actual flowers around somewhere. And it just feels like for completeness I should do a flower farm as well. I will also want to do flower farms for each of the different crimson variants. For crimson nether variants, so the crimson and the warped. The main reason is because as a part of that farm I can get warped fungus and crimson fungus, which will be used in our crimson tree farm. And then just for completeness, filling out some of the other items that we can grow with bone meal and just kind of really small micro farm. So we can do the vines for both the nethers and then the sweet berries. I don't think I'm going to make a bamboo micro farm. That seems kind of pointless, seeing as how fast bamboo grows. Rooted dirt. If you bone meal rooted dirt, you actually get hanging roots, which can look pretty nice. And I think we could fill out that area up there with the moss a little bit more if we had some hanging roots. So that could be nice. Drip leaf. It's always kind of hard to get more drip leaf unless you have some. So having a micro farm is going to be nice. Same with glowberries. And then I might end up moving the glow lichen farm. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a sec. These are some of the other plants that we can technically, use bone meal to make a farm with. Obviously, we're already doing a big tree farm, so we don't necessarily need to worry about the tree stuff. Bone mealing azaleas will really just get you oak wood and then rooted dirt. I do want to have some sort of rooted dirt farm at some point, but that's going to be a bigger farm and it's not necessarily a micro farm. We could do cocoa beans, but they grow pretty fast and I don't need a whole lot of them. So I might just make a big wall of jungle wood and fill it all with cocoa, and then we can shift the jungle logs and that'll pop all of the cocoa off, and then we just have to replant it. And that's probably better than a dispenser bone meal micro farm anyway, because all of that'll do is just turn the cocoa seed from that stage up to that stage. And so at a certain point I feel like having just a big wall with a whole bunch of cocoa on it is going to be better than bone mealing that. Anyway, mushroom, you can bone meal mushrooms and they grow tall like in the dark oak forest or in the mushroom islands. But in order to farm that takes a bigger mechanism. Obviously we're doing a crimson, well, we're specifically doing a crimson stem farm, but we can easily use it for warped stem as well. A lot of the water bone mealable plants really, I guess I would prefer to do that in a specific biome. For example, if I were to just put a bubble coral down and bone meal it, I wouldn't be able to get any coral whatsoever, because you have to be in, I think you have to be in a warm ocean biome in order to actually get the bubble coral, or any of the coral, I should say. So I don't really feel like it's worth it to set up a micro farm for any of the coral stuff here. And then that goes with seagrass you can get pretty much anywhere, and you don't really need a whole lot of it. If you need a lot of it, I would just rather take bone meal down into the water and just start spreading it that way instead of getting it loose like an item like this. And then kelp grows super fast everywhere. And I don't know if there is a really small micro farm that works pretty well for kelp. And then sea pickles. I could probably set up a sea pickle farm here, but again, I think it's gonna be better if we do that elsewhere. So yeah, these are kind of the main items that I want to set up farms for. Where I want to set up the micro farms that are going to use all of the bone meal, I think is actually going to be up here. If we go up here, turn around, I think this cave system here is going to be a really good spot for it. I think up here is going to be a great spot for our wheat farm. We're actually going to turn this into a full. This wheat farm is probably going to be the biggest farm. Maybe the flower farm's going to be bigger as far as just like total dimension, but complexity, well, maybe not even that. The wheat farm is going to be a little bit of a bigger farm than like the two tall flower farms that we're going to make. So I think I'm going to want to set that up here because that'll be kind of a nice, I don't know, a nice reason to come up here, and I think it'll fit pretty nice in here. And then I think we'll just kind of stick the other farms just kind of in the wall here, something like this. And just set them back into there. And we'll have it run all the way up here and through to here. I think that'll look pretty good. So let me go and start figuring out where all of them are going to go. I will probably end up poking this out as well, and I might put one of the flower farms down here. And then I think the other flower farm might be down there. Well, I guess I say flower farm, but I mean the nether flower farms. And now that I think about it, I probably I will build a flower farm at some point, but it probably won't be here because of the biome restrictions. So yeah, let me put some things in here and get some ideas on paper, so to speak, and I'll be back. Before I go and make those micro farms that I was talking about, I figured I would come over here and turn it on since I'll be in the area quite a bit, and this will be a good time to, generate a whole bunch of bone meal. So let's turn this on and watch it in action. Look at all that moss. Nice. There it goes. And if we let's see if we can watch the water stream here. Not seeing any bone meal. I think it'll be a while before we actually see any bone meal come through our system because it needs to fill up all of the hoppers that feed into all of the dispensers that actually create the moss. But eventually we will see some bone meal circling through here. So I'm off to make those micro farms, and I will probably just let this run. So the micro farms are mostly built at this point. I came back to the moss farm partially to shut it off, and partially so that I can grab some moss to run a few tests, and I need to set up some bone meal stuff. Actually, I'm gonna steal one more stack. So yeah, this is running pretty well. I did have some issues actually while I was up there working on the micro farm somewhere. I think I got a little too far away from the farm, and I definitely think I made this just a little too big because the back one back there really got messed up. So I essentially had to replace all of the stone that's in that back section back there. But yeah. Let's head up to the micro farm area, and I can show you what changes I've made. All right, so I opened up this area here. This used to be kind of a pillar right here. This is going to be our micro wheat farm. And I will probably use this a fair amount. This might even be the one that I use the most, because target blocks. You need, what is it, 9 wheat to make a hay bale, and you need a hay bale for a target block. And then most of the other, the flowers and a lot of the other micro farms are going to be similar to this one, where I have a lever, and if I go into cheaty cam mode, that'll light up this redstone line, which has a piston, a sticky piston, which will push a observer in front of another observer, which just creates a clock, and that'll power both of the dispensers, and we will get a whole lot of flowers from that. And then underneath, I put a back to cheaty cam. Underneath, I put a hopper minecart on a rail on top of some hoppers, and that just goes into a barrel. And I figure I can just put a trapdoor here and then be able to access whatever flowers get created from that. And I will probably put this behind some glass, which is why it's recessed another block. So then, our other flowers are like that with access to the goodies underneath. Up here is pretty much the same thing. Some of these farms are a little bit different than the flower farms. Flower farms are pretty much hands-off. Flip the switch. It'll bone meal the flowers and create a whole bunch of the flowers, and then I can turn it off when I'm ready and grab the resources here, or the flowers here. The ones up here, like sweet berries, for instance, it'll just advance the stage of sweet berry, and then once the sweet berry's at a full bush, it'll essentially create a sweet berry there. So I'll probably end up sitting here right clicking on the sweet berry bush and getting sweet berries that way. So I won't be able to put just a glass block here. And then similar to like rooted dirt, I need to have a shears, and I'll be shearing the rooted dirt as it gets created from the dispenser that's directly behind the rooted dirt. And then glowberries, I'll be right clicking on the vine, and I'm probably going to do this bottom one here, that way I don't accidentally right click and destroy the glowberry and have to go and find glowberries again. And yeah, I don't want that to happen. Drip leaf is probably going to be the most annoying one, because when you bone meal it, it grows up, and then when you break it, you can't just break like the topmost one and have the bottom one essentially reform. It'll break the entire stock no matter where you break it in the stock. So the idea here is we're going to be bone mealing it, and then I will probably just have a stack of drip leaf in my hand, and I'll just be breaking it and replacing it all the entire time, and we'll end up getting more than I place because we're bone mealing it and it'll grow. And I gave it, I think, 3 or 4 blocks there, so it can grow up. And then the barrel down here is where we'll collect the goodies. So those are the true micro farms. Actually, there's 2 more micro farms down here. This is going to be our Crimson Nylium flower farm, which is why I grabbed the bone meal, because if you don't know, you can make more nylium by bone mealing netherrack when it's right next to a nylium. So I will just create this entire area of nylium. And then there is a dispenser underneath this. I think it's underneath this block. And then there's bone meal that'll feed into it. And there's an observer there. So every time it shifts back and forth, it'll bone meal it, and it'll create a whole bunch of flowers. This is just hanging roots. This is going to be similar to like the glowberry farm that's up there. So we'll flip the switch. We'll grow the vine that's up top right next to the dispenser, and we'll end up shearing this bottom section here so that we don't lose our source vine. This is essentially just another nylium flower farm, except for warp this time instead of crimson. And then this is the last farm, which is the twisting vines, I think they're called. And we'll end up shearing the top one here instead of the bottom one, because obviously this one grows bottom up instead of the crimson one that grows top down. So yeah, those are our micro farms in our farming area down here. The last thing I wanted to show is actually starts over here. So I ended up hooking up bone meal, not a bone meal, a water stream that goes past all of our micro farms. So maybe the best way to do that would be to go here. So it'll start here, and I will probably put a shulker box right above it. And then it goes up here, and it feeds into the flower farms. Goes up a little elevator and goes past our essentially like semi-automatic farms, I guess I'll say. And then it'll come over here and it'll drop down into a chest down here. I am realizing that I did forget to hook up. Yeah, I have a hopper here and no way to actually feed it for the vine farms down here. So I may reroute this a little bit, but I'll probably end up just leaving it as it is and figuring out a different way to handle the two nether bone meal farms. So yeah. And then I did end up pulling the glow lichen farm down here. I just need to put the glow lichen onto the dispensers. So pretty much what's left is some decorations. We need to kind of, do what we did here with this path, pull that throughout the rest of the micro farming area, and then kind of spruce up the walls and make everything look nice. But unfortunately, that is all I have time for today. I think I will try to spruce up this area between episodes, and I'll show you next time. I know next episode will probably take me a little bit longer to actually make, and especially with it being a Thanksgiving weekend here in the United States, it might take me a little bit longer to get the next episode out. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.